Hey guys, this is just going to be a quick versus battle video focusing on the Night Witch and what you can expect to see from levels 1 through 12. Mostly we're going to be looking at Ethan's raids because he's the one who's been posting Night Witch raids, but I think we have one from Gfunk and one from Kalen in here too. So let's get rolling. So let's start with a look at this raid on Gfunk Space from a couple weeks ago. Only 2 Night Witches, they're only level 2. And they get dropped very close to the base. So the bats are pretty much overhead rather than way in front of the Night Witches where you'd probably like to have them. Notice the firecrackers are down here on the southern corner and the air bombs are up in the northern corner. So the bats don't have a real long life expectancy and the witches are in close enough to get taken out by the defenses. So this raid gets 1 star, but only 46%, with the Night Witches not being a stellar example of attacking. Here we're going to see Ethan's base getting hit by level 8 Night Witches. You see how they all got spawned up there in the very top corner, so the bats would be well ahead of them. Let the bats take the hits rather than the witches. Battle machine coming in from the right, hopefully getting into those firecrackers. Notice there the Night Witches are actually able to take out the air bombs, which are probably one of the biggest dangers to them. And this guy gets a little bit lucky, but also level 8 Night Witches are nothing to be sneezed at. And notice here the real advantage. The Archer Tower can deal out a fair amount of DPS, but it can still only shoot 1 bat at a time, so it's not the DPS, it's the number of shots per second that makes a single Archer Tower like that ineffective against a swarm of bats. So let's stop for a minute and take a quick look at the stats on the Night Witch and her bats. You're going to get 2 Night Witches per camp. A Night Witch is going to attack the building that is closest to her, but if guard post troops get within range, which her range is 4 tiles, she will aggro to those guard post troops, even if it means walking right into the barrels of a double cannon and getting her eye sockets blown out. She does splash damage, and she has a special ability that unlocks at level 4. Now it's not much of an ability. When she dies, instead of just disappearing, she leaves behind a swarm, I use that term loosely, of 2 bats. Now go down to the red text. The Night Witch at levels 1 through 5 has DPS between 90 and 110, hit points from 60 to 80, summons 2 bats at a time with a maximum of 3 on the map. By the time she gets all the way up to level 12, and we'll see a raid here in a few minutes where you'll get to see level 12 Night Witches in action, her DPS is up to 145, her hit points are a little over 100, and she summons 4 bats at a time with a maximum of 5 on the map. Now looking at the bats, at this point they're all level 1. I would expect that to change at some point in the future. They only have DPS of 20 and only have hit points of 10, but remember, you're not thinking about individual bats, you're thinking about a swarm of bats. They target single buildings and do their damage to individual buildings or defenses. One important thing to know is the bats will not protect the Night Witch from a ground attack. So if the bats, you got say a dozen in a swarm attacking the builder hall, and the witch is standing right next door facing down a cannon, the bats are not going to go help her. They will let her duke it out with a cannon, and she's probably going to lose while they work on the builder hall. So, all of that said, let's get back to looking at some more attacks. Now here's a raid with level 11 Night Witches on Ethan's base. Notice how they were dropped in the corner along with the battle machine, far from the defenses. Couple of giants in there purely to help tank, keep defenses from shooting at the Night Witches. And this raid goes very well for these Night Witches. There was just enough tanking to get through the defenses, and they are going to blow through the rest of the buildings and the camps very, very quickly. Now in terms of Night Witches that will take some hits, these are the level 12 Night Witches I promised you. Notice how they're dropped over in the corner, far from the buildings, defenses, so that the bats get in there and the Night Witches aren't taking a hit. You see, even the battle machine is not tanking for them. There are so many bats and they stay just far enough ahead of the Night Witches that they're actually able to do a lot of damage. So this raid was pure Night Witches along with the battle machine, which really didn't help them much. And even without tanks, they get about 2/3 the way through this base. One last raid that I'm going to put in the Night Witch fail category. This is an attack on Kalen's base. Only 2 Night Witches and only level 1, so probably this guy's just experimenting with using them. One gets dropped on the northwest and one on the northeast. The one on the northwest doesn't have a chance to be very effective because it's right next to those air bombs. And once the air bombs are down, the bats finally can do some damage, but she's going to get taken out by the defenses. The one on the northeast hardly ever gets started until that archer tower targets her along with the multi-mortar, and she's gone practically as soon as she's dropped. So not terribly effective.